So this past week, I've been trying to take a little mini break from YouTube. Yesterday, however, Marvel's Avengers Beta dropped. I spent all day playing it, and I just had to share my first impressions. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and nerd culture way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. If you've managed to play Beta, let me know your kind of experience playing it, your general impressions of the trailers, if you've just seen the trailers, your thoughts on the Spider-Man controversy, that Spider-Man's only going to be on the PlayStation version of the game because they've kind of got the rights to him. Let me know your thoughts on all of that down below. I'd love to have a nice conversation with you. Also, if you don't know, I have a second channel where I do a bunch of family vlog stuff, and I have a companion video to this over there with my son, where my 8-year-old chimes in with his thoughts on this game as a new young gamer. You can hear his thoughts on all that. With that said, to give you kind of my background with this game, I've never fully understand all the backlash that it's been getting. As soon as the gameplay trailers dropped for this one, just seemed like people just wanted to crap all over it. They picked on the character designs, which I get. They're not the best and they look different, but not in an improved way. I get that, but it wouldn't detract from the fun. It's just like, oh, that's an odd look for Captain America. And so I never fully understand some of the frustrations people had. And then people also were like, didn't think the gameplay looked very good, thought it looked clunky, and all sorts of things where I just thought to myself, like, what did you want a Marvel game, Avengers game to look like? Because for me, I saw the trailers and went, yeah, I wish that the characters looked like more like the movie versions because those are so iconic and so well done. But that don't get the criticism. And as for the gameplay, this is what I would expect from a Marvel game. That's my experience. I'm not the biggest gamer out there, but I certainly play video games and enjoy comic book related, superhero related video games such as Spider-Man, PlayStation 4, Batman Arkham games, action games in general, like in Uncharted. So I saw the trailers and everything that I had seen looked really good to me, besides the character designs and maybe some of the graphics not being quite as good as maybe they should be, but nothing that was distracting to me. So I've been very excited to check this game out. I actually didn't even have it on my radar to check it out this week. I made a post right before I took my break from YouTube asking, hey, what game should I play? And half the comments were like, dude, Avengers Beta, what are you talking about? It's Avengers Beta. And I was like, oh yeah, good call. And so I made sure I did everything I could to get access to the beta by pre-ordering, got access, and then played through it all day yesterday. So what was my experience with beta? Short version, I had a lot of fun with it. It was what I was kind of expecting it to be. To kind of walk you through the experience of beta, it kicks off with the sequence that you see in all the trailers on the Golden Gate Bridge where you play as Thor, Iron Man, Black Widow, Captain America. As kind of the prologue to the story of the game. And you play through kind of that whole little adventure. Then there's a little montage catching you up to where things are at. But it felt like didn't feel like that was the final version that they kind of have in the beta version. And then you pick up and you play for like 2 hours as Hulk and Miss Marvel with kind of this story-based adventure and trying to get the team back together. And so you just play as two characters for like an hour or 2 hours, like pretty long little section. And then them exploring the ship that you kind of find and very story-based kind of story-based levels. And then from there, you open up kind of the war room and you have a map and you can select these missions and it unlocks a couple more of the Avengers so you can play as Hulk, Miss Marvel, Black Widow, and Iron Man. And you can pick which one you play as, and then the other three are just on your team. And you just pick these levels and you go to them, and it actually, you can play on the internet and it'll lock you up with other people that are playing at that point in time if that's something you want to do. I had it turned off to not do that, but it's still occasionally I'd be playing. It was like, there's a guy talking to me right now. There definitely is another human playing right now when I did not say I wanted to play online. And but they're much shorter missions. And so that's kind of my experience with it. The cool thing about the game is that everybody really does play very different. Like they all have obviously jump attacks and way to do distance attacks, but the way it plays very different if you're Iron Man who can fly versus Hulk who can't. when you're playing as Thor, hit the mechanics of his hammer. Like you push one button to throw it and you may push another button to pull it back, and you can control the way it does that. Miss Marvel with her stretchy arms and everything, and her distance is actually just these distance punches that she can do. So everybody plays very different from one another and gives a different experience of what you're doing with them. And you can level them up to give different powers based off the way that you like to play. And a lot of customization in the gear that they have based off the levels. Like you'll be going to a location and say that these guys have cryo weapons. And so you'll go through your gear and see which gear you have gives you cryo protection and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of different ways to adjust for each level and pick the character that matches that level or the gear that you have. So a lot of customization, maybe even a little bit too much if you're not into that kind of thing. I'm not the most into that kind of thing, but there's little quick options to where you can like push one button and it autofills some of the things. And the levels themselves, it's tough. I'll kind of tie together a good and bad thing on this one. The nature of the beta, it's paced very weird because the first little section on the Golden Gate Bridge, he plays Iron Man for 3 minutes, then he plays Black Widow for 3 minutes, then he plays Captain America for 3 minutes. And so 3 minutes as each person on one level. The next thing you do is play as the Hulk for an hour straight and then Miss Marvel for an hour straight. So that's two very different things. And then you get to the last section and there's something like 10-minute missions, more straightforward. You pick your team, but real short and simple. So you don't really get the vibe of the flow of the story and the gameplay of how much of it is locked in on a specific location and that kind of thing. It's much more of giving you a sampler of the whole experience. Sometimes you'll do a mission like this, where it's kind of like it's a rail that it determines what you do. Other times you're exploring a world as a character for an hour, and other times you're on like a 10-minute mission that you can literally play online with people. That's a sampler rather than necessarily getting the vibe of how it plays out. And because of that, you only get to play as Captain America and Thor for a couple of minutes. You don't get a good taste for exactly what it's like to play as them. But you just enough to see that it's different. Everybody handles differently. So what generally speaking, I had a positive experience with it, though it's a little bit difficult to know exactly what the full gameplay will feel like when you have three very different ways of playing levels presented in the sampler that is the beta. And not really knowing exactly how you build out your teams, how robust will be the customization. This was just a tease to let you try it out just a little bit. And I enjoyed the tease. I look forward to playing more of it. And going back to what I said at the beginning, I don't fully understand a lot of the criticisms from certain people that the gameplay looks awful. I had a lot of fun playing. All the different characters were pretty cool. It was actually kind of weird. Black Widow plays a lot like Spider-Man because she has like a grappling hook, and so she can like jump and swing. And so she's the one that actually kind of a little bit plays like a mix of Spider-Man PS4 plus Uncharted because she has pistols and stuff like that. And so it's kind of interesting the way that worked out. But, you know, everybody's different. So I dug it. I had a good experience with it. This isn't a full review. This is talking about a beta, so it's a first impressions. But my first impressions were almost all positive. There's a couple things with some levels where there's some frustration with where the checkpoints were at and how far back you have to go. So my initial reactions when I died a couple times was like, oh, I have to go all the way back here. But as soon as you play through the second time, you go through a lot faster because you know what you're supposed to do. So there's a couple things like that. Definitely some glitches because it's a beta, some awkward moments where screens go black and you're like, what just happened? But all that feels like beta stuff that they're working through. So I had fun with it. I can't wait to play the full version and really get to play all these characters. We didn't get any Hawkeye, no Spider-Man in the beta or anything like that, but a nice tease of what's to come that I had fun with. This is what I wanted from a Marvel Avengers game. So if you're someone that saw the trailers and was skeptical, your perspective from the get-go is different from mine because I saw it and I went, that looks like what I want, just with some kind of goofy character designs. And I got what I wanted from the beta version of it. A real nice tease that made me even more excited for next month. Tell me what you thought down below if you checked out the beta. Oh, actually, one more final thing. You guys asked me what I was going to chime in on a couple of things. So what did I think about the Spider-Man controversy that he's only going to be on the PlayStation 4 version? I don't get the controversy. Sony owns the rights to him. Movie rights, PlayStation game rights. So it just doesn't surprise me that he's only going to be in the PlayStation version of the game. that's why they paid for the rights for the character to be able to do things like that. Granted, I have a PlayStation 4, so I will get to have Spider-Man in my version of the game. So I'm also not coming from it feeling the pain of it. I just know that I'll have him. So maybe a little bit of bias because of that. But my just kind of default businessman way of thinking about it is they paid for the rights. So of course that's what they're going to do. And it just feels like a perk to me for people that have the PlayStation version, not that's the center of the game. They pull the heart out of the game. They didn't market it based off Spider-Man or anything like that. It's just like, hey, we've got a little bonus for PlayStation people. And these games always kind of have exclusive. So I personally don't feel the pain that other people are feeling as to why they're frustrated by this. And but I also have a PlayStation. So I'm a PlayStation person, so I had a problem with him. Let me know what you thought down below in the comment section. If you want more of my video game content, like my Spider-Man PlayStation 4 review, got that one right there, or my Marvel Ultimate Alliance review, that's right down there. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and video games too much.